raise your hands when you have questions. We have a set of questions up here that we can answer too. Yeah, so what are your questions? Did you have questions about classes or which ones you should take, things like that?
What are your specialties? Like,
I'm an aggressive non-specialist. I refuse to believe that I really need to specialize in something because that's what I did in my previous life. So I would take classes and everything.
I guess interests or after.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's my turn? I'm interested in doing reference work and public services, but I'm also open to cataloging, so I'm really open to whatever like gives me a job to.
And I came in interested in archives, maybe doing the dual program with NC-State, and I currently have a job at Health Science Library, which I'm very satisfied with, so I might be interested in taking classes next semester in that kind of field.
I entered the SILS program mainly interested in the user experience, information architecture, usability, and I think the SILS program turned out to be a great fit for that. And prior to entering SILS, I was an employee for the university where I did get the opportunity to do some web programming, and that kind of spurred my interest and just decided to enter SILS. And I think it's really taken me a long way with where I wanted to go in the user experience. And during the Lulu session this morning, I think they got a chance to speak on that, some of the better classes to take, but I think this was a good fit if that's an interest of yours.
I'm Aaron Brubaker, and before coming to SILS, I was in IT for about 10 years before deciding to come back to grad school. So my interests are in primarily interaction design, information architecture, user experience design, things like of that nature. I found SILS to be really flexible and a decent program for that here, and there's courses in journalism, et cetera, et cetera. So those are basically my interests.
I'm Alex. I'm still kind of trying to figure it all out. Interests are databases, retrieval, and also just in general user-centered design and experience to try and make sure that things are designed for the people who are actually going to use it, and not what you think or how you think they're going to use it, but try and make sure that you understand what they're going to do with it instead of trying to tweak it afterwards.
So I guess here's some of the questions I had. What is the best and the worst class you've taken at SILS? You guys just want to...
Do I get to start again? Okay. I've had a few good, one of my favorite classes was actually Intro to Databases with Professor Haas, which isn't a standard library science class, but I think it's a good idea for librarians to take a database class because you're going to be working with databases for the rest of your career, whether you like it or not, and it's good to know a little bit about why they're designed the way they are and what they should be able to do. And I just found Professor Haas to be a really superb teacher, so I'd recommend taking something with her if you have the chance. I also really liked cataloging, which I didn't think I was going to like, but I ended up really, really liking it. So it's just a matter of, I guess, finding what you're really interested in. As far as worst classes go, I'd have to say what's the name for 180? Does it have a
Human information interaction.
Yeah, that. Take it online if you can.
Or take it in the summer.
Or take it in the summer.
It's shorter.
Compress the pain.
Yes, the pain
space
is
possible.
compressed. I took it in the summer, and it's still painful, but it doesn't last as long.
That's sort of a class that they are reconsidering too.
That's
And
good.
it can vary from semester to semester. Right now it's being taught by Marcinini and Willamette Bolt.
I've heard good things about that version of it.
Really good. So you don't have to stay away from it entirely. I think it can be a good experience.
Dr. Burrow's class is bad. I hate Dr. Burrow. Yeah, so I mean it depends because Martinini and I'm sorry,
Dr. Wilden.
they're both very like IT oriented, but Dr. Burrow is IT sort of, but also in my class we had a lot of LS people, so she did a really good job of incorporating both. Like trying to focus it stuff so that everyone was kind of interested most of the time. So it wasn't bad. It was just not enjoyable. Neutral.
And what classes you
What are
like?
your favorite classes?
What's your favorite class?
Me? Oh, I think that if you get to take anything with Dr. Carr, and you're an LS, you should definitely do
I
that.
second that, yeah, it's my favorite.
He's retiring soon too.
Yeah, but and he's teaching a lot of the stuff that he's teaching now is more, I guess, kind of upper level specialized type stuff. But next semester I think he's doing humanities reference, which is supposed to be a really good class, as well as some type of cultural class that he
I
hinted.
think he's gonna stop doing that one.
No, he said he wanted to do
Oh.
it. And I asked him, and he was like, I don't know what it's going to be about yet.
Oh, I guess it's a new one, it's not
So-
cultural institution.
No, not culture, some other thing.
Anyway, he's
Anyway,
gonna be going into phased retirement, so we'll just be teaching like a class here and there starting next semester.
but I think if you get the opportunity and it's something you're interested in, you should definitely see if you can fit that into your schedule, because he makes it fun and interesting at the same time. And I don't believe the hype about cataloging. I liked it too, so don't be scared. I enjoyed it. We had the same class though.
It was a lot of fun. And I even started taking advanced cataloging, so you never know where your requirements might take you.
Thinking back, I can't really think of too many classes that I just hated. I think most of the classes brought some added benefit. Some of my favorite courses, being an IS person, I really liked Dr. Wilderman's user interface design class, and it really was a good class that even if you weren't very tech savvy or a programmer, it was still a class to gain a lot from, and talking about design of interfaces. So that was definitely one class I really liked. And I also liked early on was a class called Internet Applications, because it gave you a pretty broad exposure to various things. Like if you weren't familiar with XHTML or HTML, it was a good place to start. Especially like if you were LS and didn't have the technical background, it gave you a brief overview of the history of the web, how the web worked, gave you some indoctrination to XHTML and Flash and PHP. So it gave you kind of a good overall exposure to various technologies, and then you can kind of build on that from there as to whichever technology caught your particular interest. So I really like that a lot. And like I said, right now I can't think of anything. A few of the things was like you dread it while you're taking it, but at the end you saw that you found some benefit from it.
Most of my classes have been very good. There was one online course in open source software that maybe was a little bit subpar. And that was because we didn't really have a good feel for the requirements for an assignment. So if you're taking an online course, be sure to interact with the professor and ask any questions that you might have. I would second Lamont's recommendation for Dr. Wilderman's class in user interface design. That was really excellent. I received some of the best feedback I've ever gotten on projects I did in that class. And it went into a lot of depth too, so it was a really excellent class. Also, the systems analysis class is very good. I think it's really a core part of SILS. Even if you're a library science student, you'll get a lot out of it. Just understanding work practices and how people go through different processes. And, it's really an excellent opportunity for library and information science people to better their workplaces. So that was also good.
I would second that. The systems analysis class, and also with Dr. Haas. She's great. And although we are both IS people, it's definitely, you can get a lot out of it for LS. And it's just, to some extent, it's kind of taking a step back and looking at fundamentals, like how do people work? And you have to go back and look at that before you can figure out how to make it work better. So, that was probably my favorite class so far. I haven't had the user interface design class yet.
I have a question. Are the required classes generally offered in summer sessions as well as during?
A fair amount of them are, depending on who's available during the summer. I actually took 2 required classes over the summer, and yeah, a lot of the required stuff. There's not much besides required classes offered in the summer. It's a pretty limited schedule.
You'll see research methods and information management, sometimes the HCI class, or human information interaction. Oh yeah, one of those two classes.
Info too. I don't know what the new number is. The old 102.
Cataloging was offered in the summer. I don't think reference was offered in the summer normally.
So if we want to take summer classes, we should take electives during the year and then say state
Yes.
requirements like research methods or whatever. for-
Yeah, I would advocate just taking electives you like whenever you see them, because they may not be offered again while you're here, or your plans may change, you might not be able to take them.
Yeah, you can see on the website, it lists course frequency. There's
Yeah.
a lot of really interesting classes that says irregular.
Yeah,
It'll tell you
I
the
know.
last
Yeah.
time it was offered, and they don't come around that often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's every couple of years, so.
And if there's something, also if you're interested in it, maybe it's in journalism or some other department, and it really interests you, I would say take it. I mean, that's one thing I would have done differently. There's some courses I would have taken if I'd done it over again, because, you know, sometimes that can set you apart in a pool of candidates.
Oh, I did want to make one comment on the young lady's question is, with some of the things taken during the summer, you may have to watch something like a class like research methods, which you may take later in your career, and certain classes like that you may not want to compress into a summer session. It may be good because like Dr. Lewis, who was one of the more popular teachers for teaching that course, and I think he does teach a segment of it during the summer. Some of those classes, I think you'll get more out of it if you take it for a full semester, but like I think mentioned, the old 180 might be, there are certain classes you probably would rather take during the summer because they can seem a little stretched, the subject matter can be stretched out for a whole semester, may not keep your interest the same, but one of the things if I had to do over again, maybe would take research methods during a regular semester.
I think management's offered during the summer too, usually.
I took it over the summer.
And that's another good class. I really liked management and systems analysis. And also, there's a leadership class that was taught last spring by Dr. Winston, one of our new faculty. I love that class. That's another irregular. It may be offered in the spring again. It supplements management really well. It's very laid back, more seminar. It's a this is graduate school. I expected classes of 10 people, not 30. And it was a class of 10 people, and we all sat around and talked about issues. So that was my favorite class.
That's one thing I liked about summer classes, is I thought the summer classes were generally smaller than the classes that you get during the semester, at least for LS, because some of our classes are really gigantic during the semester. And so I took 2 summer classes this summer, and it was like the first time at SILS that it felt like I was in a graduate school-sized class. So I really enjoyed the opportunity to kind of interact with people, interact with the professor a lot more than is usually the case.
I have a question. How do you deal with the fact that it's a 48 credit program and there's like 96 credits worth of worthwhile classes?
I'm probably gonna take extra class. Just because there's too many classes that interest me, so, but I'm kind of insane for doing that, I recognize that.
Well, and take
But-
classes first and second summer session too, maybe.
Well, there's 2 summer sessions worth of classes.
Right.
How many classes can you squeeze into a single summer session?
Depends on whether you're
Yeah,
working
if you're
or not.
working, if you're not working, you could do a couple.
I did 2 and worked, and it was manageable. It wasn't the most pleasant month of my life, but I didn't feel like I couldn't do it. I didn't feel like it was completely unmanageable.
And it's 5 weeks, you have class every day.
Yeah.
You know, there's something every day, was the only thing. But it's 5 weeks, so in a month you're done.
Other than taking classes over the summer, did any of you have internships or do a different job other than what you're doing during the school year? Or have you heard about anything that might be fun for the summer?
I didn't, but I do encourage anybody that, I mean, if you want to get the field experience and work experience that are really good, or to look into internships. Prior to coming here, I actually did a summer internship, and it benefited me, I think, greatly. And there's a lot of stuff out there. If you're not sure where to look, if you want to ask your professors, they can recommend things to you for sure. Also volunteering, just volunteering if you're interested in public library experience, go out there and say, hey, I'm here, I have a summer free, let me help you. And they, usually in the area, they can find you something to do. And you'll also see, like, as summer approaches, you'll start to see on the SILS job listserv and just on the regular SILS listserv, there will be announcements for internships and things like that.
And the SILS office also has a list online.
Okay.
Students have done internships previously, so that's a really good resource too, because they know SILS students and usually have been happy with them in the past. So that's on the webpage somewhere. If you can't find it, stop in the SILS office. They can tell you where it is.
This semester I'm taking 5 courses. I don't have a single exam. Is that common? Is it everything generally projects? And is that different during the summer, even though it's, okay, it's 5 weeks and you're gonna do a project in 5 weeks? Is that something to consider? I mean, it's nice to have a whole semester to think about a project as opposed to a shorter time.
I think that's typical. Most classes have projects rather than exams. I've had several that have exams, but yeah, that's
Not a lot
too
of projects.
common.
But I had a project over the summer, and basically it was kind of abbreviated. They didn't expect us to do quite as much with it because we only had 5 weeks to do it.
And which kind of classes have exams?
I'm in XML right now. I know that one has an exam.
Oh, okay.
Management.
Some of them have take-home exams. You'll have for 2 or 3 days. Like in your database 1, I think you have take-home exam. Remember it well.
Yeah,
What's more
organization
important?
of information, that has exam.
The only exam I ever had in library science is management.
And I didn't have one for that.
Oh. I guess it depends who you take it with.
I guess
So out of curiosity, who do you take to not get the exam?
Mary
Not
Wilkins
Mary.
Jordan.
Take Mary.
Say again?
Mary Wilkins Jordan, she's
Okay,
a
and-
doctoral student.
But I took Moran and I thought she was an awesome teacher,
Yeah.
and so I would recommend taking with her if you have the chance.
Mary's
I'm
very
sure they would also
exciting
recommend taking
too.
with Mary, but I think that most people who have to teach management have been pretty
Yeah,
I mean, it's a dry subject, but I think most of the professors that teach it manage to make it
fun.
fun.
Yeah,
Because you
and
have to.
relevant.
Mary's very hands-on for her version of management, and I think her advisor is Dr. Moran, his PhD's on leadership. But you have a lot of small assignments, but you do your resume and you do actual things that you would do in your real job. You're in a risk management plan and all these things.
Since we're talking about exams, how much does a comprehensive exam relate to coursework? How much time do you take working on it?
Well, I'm getting ready to, I'll be taking it in December, but they haven't had the information sessions yet, so all I know by hearsay. But you enroll in it in your last semester because they want you to have had all your required classes for sure, and a lot of the other stuff that you're gonna take. And from what I understand, they email you a question and you answer it and send it back.
I think you get some choice, like they give you
Yeah.
2 or 3 questions, you choose one, and you basically have a day to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's any excellent way to prepare for it. You sort of just gain and gather this knowledge and expertise over the course of your program.
But it's a take-home.
Right, you don't have to be here.
Okay,
You
because
just have
that's
to
what I'm used to in conference
Right, you
exams,
just have to
sitting in a
submit
room.
it. Right.
Okay.
And it's all by email.
But they also have all the past comp exam questions in the library too that you can go look at to prepare that way. But I think in the faculty, they say you're very prepared for it. I don't know of anyone that's failed their comp exams. I've been at SILS for 3 or 4 years, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Dr. Pomerantz is all about programming. I mean, he's preaching to us that we need to become programmers, even if we're in the LS side. Did you guys have any issues with maybe trying that out? If you hadn't had any background in it and tried to do it other than just like in class, did you have any adventures in programming?
I mean, it's really important that you learn how to do it and that you learn, it's not, what kind of programming is he preaching the gospel?
He's just saying that, that we just need to be general programmers that we're getting.
Well, I mean, there's some things you need to know. If you need to know HTML and be
Yeah.
thoroughly professional with it, you know, it helps if you know other kinds of web technologies that you can use to, you know, make your sites look better. But I think for librarians, it really depends on what kind of librarianship you want to do. Like, personally, I'm more interested in public libraries than academic libraries. And you know, knowing some of that stuff will be helpful for me, but I also feel like if I need help, I can pick up a book or pick up the phone and get help. So I don't feel like it's a skill that I need to master to become a librarian.
So it's not, do you feel like you had enough in class to be able to do it, other than, like you said, going to a book and doing it on your own? Do you feel like you had plenty of experience in class to become a programmer just through the program?
Well, I don't don't think, I would say in class I did. I mean, I think it's something that because of a couple of projects that I did that I feel much more comfortable with, so.
And even some of the IS classes are sort of computer science light. I mean, you can always take courses over in comp sci, and introductory courses in JavaScript, for example, if you want to understand object-oriented programming. You could even do an independent study if you're really interested in something.
But I wouldn't say that you need it to become a librarian, though.
No.
Yeah.
What you might be interested in, though, is organization of information or even a
Yeah.
metadata class there, because you'll use stuff like XML, I think stuff that would be useful in a
I'm
library
not
setting.
taking it, but there is an XML class this semester, and I think there's a lot of LS people that are in it, and I've heard a lot of people walking around going, XML is just, like, half the class has no idea what's going on, but they're not too worried about it. That's the sense of people that I've talked to. Their reactions are like, I guess I'll figure it out by the end of the
Thinking
semester.
internet applications would be good ones to take if you don't have a strong background in it. And also like intro to databases. I don't know that you need to take the rest of the database classes, but like I said, I really like intro to databases, so.
Because I think that's the most important thing is the more technically literate you are, I think it will set yourself apart from your other LS counterparts. So it was just like was mentioned earlier, you don't necessarily have to be like a programming guru, but I think the biggest thing you come away with, if you have a general understanding and you're not afraid of technologies, because more things are going to become computerized and automated, even in libraries. So if you do have some HTML skills, or be able to even do some minor changes, I'm sure those types of things will definitely help you. So even like we were talking about the internet applications class, where it gives you a broad spectrum of some different technologies, enough for you to have a little bit of a taste of, this is how to do something. I think it'll give you confidence that if you have interest in it, you can dig a little deeper into it on your own or take further coursework, but if not, at least it gives you some foundation to begin with.
I think if you're really interested in it, I've taken Intro to Web Programming and Computer Science, and it's not too scary. And it's a good class. And I think it's useful if as a librarian, if that's what you want to do, you want to change websites and whatnot, yeah, I think that would be a useful class. Comrades is into digital libraries, I think, so that's probably why he's preaching programming.
Yeah.
But I would say that he's not exaggerating too much, because you do need to have you do need to have technical skills to be a librarian, and like the days when we didn't have to really work with computers at all anymore are really long gone. So it's going to need to be familiar enough with the technology that if something goes wrong, you know when it's beyond your capacities to fix it, know who to call to fix it.
It seemed to me that there weren't a lot of sort of established prerequisites. It was, they said, okay, I think you have to take information tools or wave out of it, and then it's kind of like you're on your own. Are there suggestions for take this course first, then take this, then, sort of move through things so you don't get thrown in at the deep end?
There is some of that. I'm thinking in particular, user interface design, they want you to have systems analysis first, for example. Metadata class, they'd like you to have organization of information. The two that I can think of.
I think one of the things that came to mind for me was thinking about my master's thesis topic. And I think that's something like when you come into the program, it's good to start thinking about that in advance. And one of the things I wish was like right now, I'm already taking 150, I can't think of the new number, I think it's 5. But that was one of those things I wish I had taken prior to my last semester, because I think that taking like that, the 180 prior to research methods, those classes are the beginnings of getting you to think on a research topic and that type of thing. So even though it wasn't like a hard, fast prerequisite, I think it does help to take some of those things and then save research methods to very near the end when you're about, you're very close to graduating, you're about to work on your thesis topic, because it's a good lead in to, you have to eventually finish research methods with really a thesis proposal in a sense. So that's a good way to kind of lead off into your last semester.
Also from the LS side, when I was coming in, my temporary advisor told me that it was a good idea to take reference and cataloging in different semesters, just because they're both very work-intensive classes where you just have a lot of assignments. So that's something that, if you've already enrolled in that, I'm sure it'll be fine. It's not like you should drop one of them now. But if you have the chance to stagger it, it can make your life a little bit easier, especially in that first semester. And that I would agree with what was said about you know, doing 180 a little earlier and doing research methods, either in the summer before your last year or in the fall semester of your last year.
Well, we're just talking a lot about coursework, but I'm curious to know what kinds of work that you've done outside of school that you feel has provided you really great or different experience than people can find at any other program.
I'll start. I work downstairs actually. I work in the SILS computer lab, and this has been really neat because we're involved with all things IS. You know, it's been a really good complement to my coursework because I've got to do some scripting and server support and user support, interface design, and all sorts of things like that. So I think this working while you're in school and doing summer internships is really important because you have these really applicable skills and projects you can put in a resume and talk to employers about. They really like to hear that information. And there's just a lot of things available around here. I know people who've taken the semester off to go work in the Triangle, internship programs like that are really just invaluable.
I think another thing I would suggest, even though I didn't get a chance to take advantage of it because I work full time and go to school part time, was a lot of the study abroad programs that are available through SILS in the summer. And you know, the opportunity to study abroad, even learn and practice new languages, because I think it's just huge to be able to speak another language other than English and become fluent with it, but just the exposure to, you know, doing things internationally, because we're just becoming more and more of a global world. So if that's something you can take advantage of, I would say do it. And something I wish I could have been able to take advantage of it.
I guess from like LS side, there are a lot of opportunities on campus. Most of the people I know work in Davis or undergrad. I work in health science. Sarah did internship, right? Fellowship at health science. And it gives you, I feel like it gave me the opportunity, having worked in libraries before, I'm doing reference work, but at the same time I also get to go up to my cubicle and edit web pages occasionally. And I'd never done that kind of stuff before. And just working in like an actual field, getting everyday experience, learning databases firsthand rather than just in a class, that was really helpful. I learned how people use what I'm doing.
I had an internship at Cisco last summer, and that was the best job. I would love to have that job full-time, all the time. I worked directly with engineers and build networks for actual customers that I got to talk to, like IBM and government agencies and Virginia Tech, and that was a really cool job, and I think that's been my most memorable job, I think. So I would say the internship opportunities and some volunteer experience, I guess, would be good.
When you say internship, do you mean field experience? Are you using those interchangeably, or was this a separately set up internship? It is a little, I think the language is really confusing because of course you have two opportunities to take 2 field experience credits during the program. But we do have some companies that have, like Blackstone, I think offers internships, and the EPA internships. Now you can fold in a field experience credit to those if you want to. You can come and see me, I'm the field experience coordinator. So if you're not sure how to do that, but we can usually work that out. And field experience is not necessarily paid. Some of them are also unpaid field experiences, but great for people who haven't had a lot of experience. But it's a confusing scene, I think, out there just to figure that out, like what we mean by different terminology.
I think I was called a co-op.
Okay, well, yet another term, right? Because we don't officially have a co-op program, but maybe Cisco offers, gets involved in places that have co-op programs, and so that's what they called you or something. So, yeah, interesting.
But maybe Emily suggested earlier volunteering at a public library. I wonder if you could probably fold that into a field experience again.
I'm working on doing that, actually. Actually, it's structured as an internship at the Carborough Branch Library, but I'm doing that and doing it as a field experience. So it's really just a matter of, it's field experience. There's extra documentation you have to do, obviously, and you produce a paper at the end of it where you examine a scholarly aspect of some issue that you worked with. But it's a great way to get the work experience, but also get credit for it, that you can count towards your requirements. So I've done it. I recommend it. And I also would second what Lamont was saying about developing languages and things like that. If you're in library science, if you end up becoming a cataloger, for instance, knowing how to read extra languages is, of course, really valuable. But if you want to do public services, I would say that having knowledge of other languages that are spoken in your area is a really valuable thing. And I'm personally considering doing a language immersion program when I finish SILS to be able to do that. So it's something that would be a good idea, I think.
I guess I have another quick question. What about independent studies?
I'm doing one of those too. I think it was originally group study, but it became a group study. And I guess it's not like regular individual studies where you have an issue that you're interested in, you find a faculty member and you meet with them regularly and discuss it, and you do readings and things. But I'm essentially doing advanced cataloging as an independent study because it got dropped from the course offerings this semester, and there were a few of us who were really interested in it, so we just meet with Dr. Tsai every couple weeks, and we catalog some books and talk about things. So I kind of like the fact that it's a looser structure and it's a smaller group. And I think it's a good opportunity to get more interaction with the faculty members, which can be harder to do in some of the bigger classes. Anyone else have experience with independent studies?
I did an independent study, and I'd recommend just going to a professor or two, sort of jotting down your ideas. It requires some self-discipline. It's a good exercise because you have to sort of keep up on top of it yourself. But if there's something that's not offered or you really have interest in, I think it's a really good opportunity.
Yeah, I did. Well, I was wondering more about the language immersion, because I've thought about that myself, and I only know English, and I really don't know anything else, but I thought that would be really useful to know at least one other language. And is there any way that we could somehow fit that in while being at SILS?
Well, I don't know if immersion is easy to do, but I know that you can take advantage of foreign language classes that are offered here at SILS, and you can just take those to supplement. I've already, I took 2 years of Spanish, and so I feel like I have enough background in that now that I feel comfortable doing an immersion. Because I'm a coward, I don't know how comfortable I can be doing an immersion in a place where I knew nothing about the language. But, so you certainly are free to take courses across the university here, and so if there's something that you think would really round out your skill set, then I would encourage doing it.
Yeah, and outside the university and really outside the state, there's some excellent programs like Concordia Language Schools in Middlebury in Vermont.
And it's also possible, it would take a lot of work probably, but to sort of design your own study abroad. If there's a library school somewhere else in the world that you're interested in and we don't have a connection with it, you could try to set one up.
Well, the ones that we do have connections with, like Copenhagen and Prague, and I think there's a couple of others, but Barbara Moran is the professor who knows most about this. But those, it's the tuition is, the advantage of going with one of those is that, you pay your tuition here, you can go there and you don't pay any additional. If you set up one with another school, I don't know if that would be the case. You probably have to pay tuition as a.
But like I said, it's not the best option necessarily, but if you look around and you don't like what we already have established, then you can research it and find something else.
That idea of making independent study out of a course that was dropped, is that something that commonly happens, and how does one sort of find out who to sort of ask and say, let's go and...
Oh, well, what I did is I didn't know that there was anyone else that was interested in the course. I hadn't actually had the chance to sign up for it yet because it changed between the times that I was able to use the registration system.
Right.
But I knew that it was Dr. Tsai who was going to be teaching us, so I just emailed him and said, look, I'm in this situation, I'm graduating in December, but I'd really like to have an introduction to concepts of advanced cataloging. Would you consider taking me on an independent study, or could you recommend maybe someone else who might be able to take me on? And he said, oh, well, that's nice because I actually have 3 other people who've already expressed an interest in it, so we're just going to get together at this time. You can join us.
And that's something that could be done whether or not it was originally scheduled, or whether it was one of these sort of infrequently...
Well, yeah, you might consider if there's a topic that you see that's listed as infrequent, you might contact the professor and first ask if they have plans to offer it again anytime soon, whoever is listed. And then if they don't, ask if they might be willing to take you on as an independent study, or ask if they know anyone else who'd be willing to take you on. Because sometimes, like Dr. Tsai is teaching, I think, 2 full sections of cataloging right now, so I felt pretty fortunate that he was willing to take 4 of us on extra. But
I'd say with the infrequently offered classes, there was a course I've been waiting to take since I was an undergrad at SILS, and it's my last year of grad school. So I talked to Dr. Gallup, who is one of the assistant deans, and she said, well, if you can get a petition of 10 students, and we can find someone to teach it, then yeah. I actually had like 30 students sign the petition. So in the course, and we're all in the course now, the three of us are, and yeah, so that's an option too. The faculty are very approachable, and they want you to get the most you want to get out of the programs. So the independent study or petitioning for classes is always an option. Anyone else? Questions? Do you guys have anything you want to talk about? Advice?
Yeah.
I sort of sometimes feel overwhelmed because there's so many things you can do. You could be in student associations of ALA or ELSA, and then there's, field experience and working and study abroad and, taking classes outside of SILS, and there just seems to be sort of this huge universe of stuff you could do if you work like together and, even knew what you were looking for. So sometimes I kind of just feel like I don't know what to, sort of where to go or where to direct my energy. So I just thought, how do y'all know how to, select the best things for you?
I would talk to a lot of people. That's how I figured out what I was doing, like my first few years. I just asked like a lot of second years what they had done and what they recommended. And then I just kind of, whenever something came by that was only mildly interesting, I tended to put it aside for a long time about it. But if something came along that was really, really interesting, then of course I would just get directly involved with it. That's how I've managed it myself.
I think it takes at least half a semester probably to process it all and stop feeling overwhelmed like that. So I think I kind of ignored it for a while. Like, there's too many things. Just gonna wait until I kind of figure out what's going on. And that'll happen even if you don't try, just by being around for a while. So
I think one of the things that kind of helped me too was going on to the SILS site and actually looking at some of the research and, the areas of concentration of each of the professors, just to get an idea of just kind of like what are the topics and subjects that are available, and then the ones that kind of caught my eye. I took notice of which classes those professors taught. And even though I kind of came in with an idea that I wanted to do more like an area of usability and web design, there are a few that I could probably speak to more on the IS side, but like the internet application is one of those courses where it was pretty exploratory because you touched on a lot of different things. It gave you an idea to say, okay, I've been exposed to all these things, but I don't really like this and this, but I kind of like this, and I want to continue on and take more courses that deal with this particular topic. And it just so happened to me, I took a database class, and I kind of liked those and continued to take those, so I ended up probably with more of a concentration in that area more so than I would have thought coming into the program. But if you can kind of get, like I said, talk to the other students and take notice of what the professor's areas of research are, and if something catches your eye there, at least you can begin developing a relationship with that professor. And sometimes they can help steer you in a direction, because I think ultimately once you figure out where you really want to be at the end of the program, then you can start targeting which classes will get you there.
Does anyone have any other lingering concerns?
And that is another thing too about your advisor also, because I know a lot of times you come in and you're assigned an advisor, and by bringing those topics up to them, they can kind of help guide you, and you can share with them kind of like generally what your interests are, and they may be even able to direct you to other professionals in the department or even outside of the department sometimes that can help channel or gauge, give you an idea of just where to go with that particular interest that you may have.
And it's okay not to know 100%. You'll narrow it down. 2 years isn't a long time.
yeah, I thought it was a pretty telling fact that every single one of us, when we were asked what's our concentration, we all kind of went, yeah, I don't know, everything, all of it, none of it. So yeah, you kind of do have to choose a little bit, but you also don't.
I know for myself, I'm sort of locked into a 20-hour work experience, which is, and it's absolutely great for me personally, I was just curious whether people did just one thing for their entire time here, or they did several different jobs, or how did that work for each of you?
It's not for me, but I just want to give an example of like Negan Perez. This year I asked him like what he was doing, and he's had so many field experiences or like work experiences, but I mean they're all like in a very similar area, but he's moved about and kind of like everything's kind of related for him, but he's just had so many, it's amazing to me. Like, I think also just think about the range of activities that you're able to do in that job, and then see if you want to expand. Basically try to cover a lot of different areas in your work experience that you think you want to cover in your working life. So, for instance, I've had the same student assistantship since I got here, which was a year and a half ago. And I've been really happy with it because I feel like I have the chance to tackle different projects that speak to different interests that I have.
Right.
So I've felt pretty comfortable staying there the whole time.
And then, but then
I've done a couple of field experiences as well, so
Okay.
that's how I've complemented. I've done 2 field experiences, which is the maximum number that you can do,
so two of that plus the one.
plus the one
Full-time,
job
yeah.
that is 20 hours a week, although I've cut it back a little this semester. So if you find that you're in a position you really like and don't want to give it up, feel free to supplement that with the field experiences. I think that's really what they're there for. Anyone else have any good experiences on that?
Same here, I've been in the same position, but again, summer is another opportunity and field experiences too.
Yeah, I've had the same assistantship the whole time I've been here. But yeah, it does give you an opportunity to explore, depending on who you work for, I guess, to explore different topics in your one field experience or assistantship. Anything else?
It would have been really nice if the scheduling for this sort of coincided with us actually having the course schedule for next semester in front of us, because we don't know what's being offered and we can't ask sort of pertinent questions that says, I'm thinking about taking this course with this professor, what can you say about it? So maybe that's something to consider for next year.
I would actually really love to see the spring schedule now. So.
I'll take that back. No, I agree. I think we should actually be planning out even 2 years in advance. So
Well,
that
that
you
would
can
be
see what's
helpful so
coming up
that you
again.
could plan your entire time.
And I don't know exactly why it takes so long.
It seems to come out right before you register for classes too.
Right.
Yeah,
Last
so
time it
it's
went.
always very last week.
So for all those irregularly offered classes, you just kind of have to cross your fingers and hope that they're going to be offered.
And I was one of the people who canceled a class for this semester because we didn't really have a large sign up. That was the consumer health information. I will be offering that again in the spring semester, plus an elective called library effectiveness. There's a course called information systems effectiveness, and we used to have a library effectiveness, which would be on the evaluation and looking at how you look at the value of libraries, all types of libraries. And then that professor left, and now I'm sort of back being a professor, having escaped from administration. So I'll be offering that as well. But you can, if you go way back, you can find examples of that library effectiveness course in the library, the old syllabi. But if anyone wants to talk to me about that, I'd be glad to tell you about it. And in fact, you can go and see any of the professors and say, what are you teaching next semester? Because most of us know at this point. I don't know why that schedule is now. It could be adjuncts or something like that.
Well, yeah,
they haven't
even
all
if
been
they're
signed
not,
on.
even if they don't have the actual schedule, the times worked out, it would be nice just to know which courses.
I think it's up on the registrar site, it's just not on the SILS page.
Oh, that's interesting.
It may not, it's not complete, it doesn't have like the special topics ones, but it does have.
And as it comes out, please feel free to ask any of us. I think we'd be happy to talk to you about courses.
They'll give you the skinny.
I think also some of the advice that I was given by my advisor when I told him that I wanted to be public services was that there are 2 courses that you really should take. One of them is business information, and the other one is government documents, because they're 2 sources that are not intuitive. If you master psych info, you can probably also search SOCHAMs. They're very similar, but the sources in those 2 fields are very unique to the fields, and it can be difficult to just pick up on the fly. So that's some advice that I got that I thought was really good. And
If you go here, just look under directory of classes and go to spring 2007 ILS. They're there.
Oh,
Actually,
that's
on
cool.
the SILS site.
They're not on our site, okay. We should do something about that.
Okay, yeah.
if
If you guys want me to pull it up so you can see it on the screen, I can do that too. Okay. People are for this thing to turn on.
Professor Marshall, while we're waiting for this, is there a prerequisite for the librarians that you have to be a,
Library effectiveness?
yeah,
No, I mean, it does fit in with research methods, but it'll focus more specifically on evaluation of library services, and I just like to encourage, I think it's really important, like you keep thinking this topic of, you know, how do you justify the value of libraries and things like that, and I mean, I think it's something that I'd like to just give everybody the opportunity to do and explore with us. So, no, neither of them have a prerequisite. Health information, consumer health information, I mean, public libraries are offering it now. Academic libraries, health sciences libraries have been involved in that for a long time. There are a lot of private vendors who are providing health information to the public. It's one of the most rapidly growing areas of information on the internet, so, you know, it's also very relevant, I think, for almost anybody.
Take intro to database and
You
professor.
don't really know what they mean.
Don't take it. If you have a chance to take it with her, take it with her.
Definitely. I did not take it with her, and I would advise taking it with her. That's all I'm saying.
I remember that organization information would also count as organization materials now. Is that true?
Yeah, at least that's what they said for us who are taking it this semester. Given what's happened in the class thus far, I think I'm still gonna wanna take the other one. But she said it does count for the current range for LS right now.
So you could graduate with an LS degree without taking cataloging?
That doesn't sound.
That doesn't sound possible.
Well, actually, not all library schools require cataloging any longer. SILS is a holdout. I'd say 50% don't require cataloging anymore.
But I'd say that you do need cataloging to be a good reference librarian, because you're going to be teaching people how to use that catalog, and if you don't know how it works, how are you going to teach them?
I think the idea, this is discussed at a faculty meeting, hope you don't mind me interjecting. But we want, what we think one of the most beneficial things is for students here is that it's a lot more flexible in most programs. And if there are students who think that a broader view of the information or organization of information would be beneficial to them, looking at all sorts of different ways of, you know, classifying, indexing information would be more beneficial. We wanted to make that available to people. But that really puts more of a responsibility on you to decide, you know, do I need to learn more about cataloging? You know, I do think it's really, really important for anyone who wants to work in a library or might want to work in a library. But I think that was the thinking behind it.
So do you guys have any particular class you're looking for? I was trying to pull up the special topics kind of courses. They're not doing very well on this kind of stuff. Curriculum issues, but they're also using librarians.
Right, I spent a lot of classes with prerequisites, I'm not taking that, so that's where I'm taking it. We have like 7,000 concurrently.
I've heard that they will, but you need to talk to the professor. Like, and sometimes it helps if you have like a background we have used reference tool before, so they're like, okay, you can understand you, especially if it's one of these that is really infrequent and only comes around so often. Talk to your professor and see if there's any way that can be arranged.
See, a lot of these look like they're higher level classes, which should we be taking them in our second semester?
I think the special topics just have higher numbers. I think most of these are special topics. Like the seminars, I don't know off the top of my head if these have prereqs, but they always have higher numbers, I think.
But is that, does that mean we should?
If you want, I mean, these
in the grand scheme of things, how many classes are you taking? And if you waited to take all of the upper level classes in your last semester, they're not all offered every semester, so.
I don't think these are necessarily upper level either.
Okay.
Yeah,
They
it's
just have higher
don't
numbers.
let the numbers scare you.
Yeah.
They're sort of not core. All like and the LS program has sort of 2 levels of core, but they're not core. So if you have particular interest in these, maybe another way of thinking of it is they're specialized areas. So you always benefit more if you know sort of the basics, but still you'll get a lot out of it, you know, already with having taken 1 semester of courses here, and if you're working part-time in a library or something of that sort, or in an information setting, you're smart, you'll kind of pick it up. So I wouldn't be deterred from doing it. You can always talk to the professor and they'll tell you like whether it's appropriate or not. We have such different backgrounds in this school. And you come in with many of you with advanced degrees in other fields, or, you know, so you're probably the best judge of, we can share some of the content with you and then you're the best judge of whether it would work for you. You know, don't be discouraged by it.
Does anyone know anything about the rare book class?
It's great.
I actually took it.
It's great. It's great. Okay.
It's given over in Wilson Library, and he is the rare books librarian, and so it's really hands-on. It is wonderful. It's usually a fairly small. One of the nice things about the seminars is that they tend to be smaller, but he's really an expert in his field. So.
Good storyteller too.
There's only 15 seats in that course. So, but I think everyone recommended, or the LS students recommended Dr. Carr earlier. His class is Seminar in Information Cultures. I'm guessing that's what that stands for.
Is that his museums one?
No, he's not going to do it. It's new. It's no, there's out there.
And then there's advanced selected topics. I think these are the ones that have requirements. Like, and I don't even think they have the titles listed yet. It just has advanced selected topics. But like Dr. Munson's leadership class requires management. I just took them at the same time. And he was fine with it. So.
Connie Sharp's class would be the evidence-based medicine for librarians course. So anyone interested in the health field, that's an excellent course to take.
Dr. Tibbon would have like archives of some sort of topic there, special.
And service must be something related to children or youth.
So the course schedule is up. If you guys have questions, Alex and I work at the desk in the lab. And we're there most of the time. And Aaron is across the way.
He hides, but he's there.
One other thing we might touch on really quickly is the master's paper. I think I'd recommend that even your first semester or second semester, you keep a notebook or a file on your desktop of questions that will come up. You know, it might be something you're interested in class and you want to spend time on, you want to know more about it, you're trying to figure it out. But I would take a running log of topics that pop into your head. Some people have an idea of much research, you know, day one. I wasn't one of those people and I had a hard time coming up with a topic, but it eventually did come out of a class discussion I had, so I can't just jot down notes, I think, as you go. That would be helpful.
Yeah, I think that's really huge, and one of the things that can help too is if you're not sure about like which direction you want to go, by taking some of the core courses early, whether it be from LS or IS, like some of the courses I can think about, whether it was systems analysis or even the organization of information. Some of those courses really start to cover some of the main topics in the field of like information science or on the library side, library science. So it gives you an idea of, like I said, of these are the topics out there, and it gives you a chance to get a feeling for your field in general if you didn't already come in with some predefined area you want to focus on. So I said, at least like if you don't have a certain place you want to start, by taking some of those core courses, you get a feel for the whole field as a whole. And so then like you come across topics like focus on using different things that you may take an interest in that you want to do for your master's thesis later. And then those classes like the research methods, those types of classes are built to help you take whatever your interest is at the time, and then how to create a theory and a topic and develop it into research. So I think that helps, and that's one of the things I think I regretted, because when I came in, I knew I wanted to find out a lot about user interface design. So I targeted a lot of elective courses first, and saved a lot of the core courses for the back. But then I was like, I would have been able to generate an idea a lot sooner had I taken some of the core courses a little bit earlier.
I would say I second that, but also just add that even if it doesn't help you find your focus, it will at least help you toss things out. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but I mean, you'll be exposed to everything, and maybe something, it turns out that it's not what you thought it was, that subject. Or it's, you thought you were interested in it, but then you discover, oh, hey, I'm not. So even if you're eliminating, you're still working towards focusing.
Pick something you're willing to work on for 9 months. You're willing. Pick something that doesn't bore you. It's important to me.
Most of the professors are involved in multiple research projects, and we'd love to have people, work with us on projects. So, mine are tend to be in the health area, and we have a workforce issues and library information science. Someone this morning said something about being interested in recruitment and retention. But, so just talk to people, and, if we could plug you in some way to research projects that are underway. Another one I've got going is Lifelong Access Libraries, which is a new initiative that's being funded to get public libraries ready for the onslaught of the baby boomers, and trying to get them, there's this notion of civic engagement. So it's really exciting, and every faculty member will be doing some stuff. We went and talked to the doctoral students, but maybe we should come and talk to master's students sometime about the projects that we're doing. Because you can either develop your own, or you can link into an ongoing research project in some way.
I did my undergrad honors thesis in SILS, and my topic was the gender gap in technology, and there weren't really any professors into that. But Dr. Wildman, we formed a committee, and we found people interested, so they'll work with you too. Well, the next thing is at 3 in Wilson Library, how I got my first job. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, come down to the lab and ask us. We're all around. And yeah, UNC.edu/directory is how I got here. It's the simplest way to get